Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation, episode 454 of the Don't Unfriend Me Show. My name is Matthew Shapiro. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me. Sorry I've been absent a couple of nights. We had some live shows that went long, so I took a break, but I'm back, and I want to go ahead and talk to you about something that I saw about Ben Shapiro a couple of weeks ago as he did a show in regards to the video game and TV show Last of Us. Now, this is drummed up some controversy. And the controversy is that it's probably one of the most highly regarded TV shows of all time. And it has an amazing score on Rotten Tomatoes, an amazing audience score, and it's well received by most people. Now, anyone who's played the Last of Us games knows absolutely that the TV show steps lockstep in line with the game. They do an excellent job of transferring with a new take and a new spin, something that was already gold, because the games are renowned and heralded as the best video game. Now I'm talking the unicorn, right? If you're not a video game player, there's the fabled unicorn. Every time you would go to the convention each year, you'd say, is there a unicorn? Is there a unicorn? And we saw that with Halo. We saw that with Grand Theft Auto. And these were great games, but they weren't unicorns. Last of Us was. It was graphically, storyline, gameplay, suspense. It had something for everyone, just like Empire Strikes Back. The movie is heralded as one of the best, most complete movies of all time. Last of Us was one of the best games. Now, I do dabble in video games. Yes, I'm an adult, but however, my back surgery, I didn't have a lot to do, so video games became something that I would peruse in, but I also loved them as a kid. You can say I was a nerd gone jock, gone back to a little bit of both, but the interesting thing about this is Ben Shapiro decided to take it on. And I don't disagree with Ben on much. I love his perspective. I think he is a very articulate and astute person. But here we vehemently disagree. And I think Ben, giving him credit, because I'm not going to cut up his show and only show you the things that make my points sound good, but I'm going to go ahead and say how he automatically was a little self-deprecating and kind of knew that he was stepping into the proverbial dog caca when he did this, and he got blown up for it. We're going to talk about it right now. Stick around, whether you agree or disagree. This is what it's about. There's no growth in the comfort zone. If this makes you feel weird, that's okay. That's what it's designed to do. It's not always about being comfortable, but remember, we're not going to show anything that the kids can't see or anything else. We'll keep it respectful and PG. I will be right back after this message from the Hodge twins.
Hey, Hodge twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Shapiro at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
You've got to love the Hodge twins. I hope you do. Please follow me at thedumbshow.com. Excuse me, at The Dumb Show. And you can visit at thedumbshow.com, pick up some hats, some t-shirts and all that. You can't pick up the Def Leppard shirt. It's licensed, folks, but it is still a cool shirt. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into the video with Ben Shapiro. Once again, want to walk through this step by step with you.
Okay, time for a thing that I hate.
All right. Probably not the best way to start off when you're going to talk about LGBTQ and this whole woke culture and how it's put in a video game and it's put in a movie and it doesn't correlate and it doesn't make sense, because we know that's what he's going to say and how he's going to say it. But interesting is that when you start off saying things that I hate, Ben does not hate LGBTQ people. That's certainly not what he is trying to say. These are things that bother him, and obviously it's a clever title, because things that bother me, though I do not hate you and believe in your individual rights to do what you want in the privacy of your own bedroom, is too long of a frickin' title. Let's cut him some slack.
Okay, so we're going to steer into some dicey waters here. I'm about to criticize an episode of the TV show The Last of Us. So I'm going to say right up front, HBO's The Last of Us, right? This is the one that stars Pedro Pascal, and it's really well produced, written by Craig Mazin, who's super talented.
This is what's known as begging the question. Ben doesn't do this often. So obviously, I don't think he feels like he's on solid ground here. That's just my perception watching him for years. When you have to placate and you have to say, okay, now listen, first of all, I've got a lot of gay friends, which I do. I have a ton, but it doesn't necessarily mean I agree everything with the rainbow flag and the LGBTQ community. In fact, I think a lot of the stuff that they do is pretty bitchy and needs to stop. But Ben doesn't get right into it. He obviously has to massage everybody. And that's okay because he has a very wide and broad audience. However, I think his audience understands his point, and automatically it weakens his position, in my opinion. But he does admit that he doesn't really know what he's talking about when it comes to the history of Last of Us. And I think that's important, that this is just his gut reaction off of watching a couple of episodes.
He's the one who is behind Chernobyl. Okay, so first, the things about this series that are good. And again, preface, I've never played the game. So don't care about the game. Don't care about how true it is to the game. There are lots of gamers out there. You want to watch their videos on the correlation between the game and the show. That's
Good
fine.
point.
I'm just watching it as a piece of pure TV entertainment. Okay, I'm coming from, I don't care what's canon. I don't care what's not canon. Just coming at it from the view of a TV viewer. So I'm just going to say that right up front. That is not my particular purview. I don't play video games.
At that point, this is probably where Ben should stop. Because what you just did is undercut your entire argument. You basically said, I don't know anything I'm talking about, the history, the entomology of this game. I don't understand where it originated from. I don't understand what it's about. I don't even understand the complexity of the virus that's in the game. No, it's not COVID. And that will leave you in a position to make some very serious mistakes, because his premise that this is a zombie game, and that's okay, because, or a zombie show, is really easily to consider, but that has nothing to do with the show. In fact, it's completely secondary when you play the games and you understand the ending of the show. I think if he continued to watch it, he will probably reflect and go, oh shit, I missed this point because I didn't wait for the show to end. I had a visceral reaction to seeing two gay guys on TV and I jumped to conclusions. And that's okay, because we all did when we played the game, especially back in 2013, 14, when this came out, was very uncomfortable, different than it is today. I know that's only 10 years, but trust me, we've come a long way in 10 years, or at least we like to think we have.
Because I'm not a child.
Oh,
I know.
I forgot this part. You know what? Good rib. Honestly, video games are not usually designed for adults, although that's not necessarily true. He's a Star Wars fan. Ben Shapiro is a Battlestar Galactica fan. He is a nerd a little bit. So am I. He can sit here and pretend he's not, but he even makes a reference to Battlestar Galactica later. Trust me when I say this, Ben's just trying to be machismo and butch up a little bit.
Oh, I'm just joking. Lots of good people play video games. Okay, in any case. Okay, it's a show about a zombie apocalypse that essentially arises because fungi go viral, essentially, and take over people's brains and turn them into zombies.
Which is crazy if you don't know this. There's actually a fungi that does this with insects, and it's non-transferable to humans yet. Dun, 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 dun. But it's a very interesting. If you haven't looked at it, there's a great, it's on planet Earth, but just look it up. It's interesting.
That is the premise of the show. And it's really well produced, and it's beautifully shot, and it's really well scripted. Actually,
all those things are true. It is well scripted. It's well done. The music is fantastic. The choice and selection of casting is great. Actually, it's shot like crap. The first episode is shot in a very TV, ABC, CBS, Dawson's Creek style camera. It's not movie production quality. It's not shot with a movie quality camera. Then episode 2, they do pick up with that, and they go into just a higher movie feel to it, but they don't use any stabilizers or gyros on the cameras. So it's constantly wiggling and moving, which gives it that we're running and we're moving with fervor and pace. But my God, it makes you want to throw up on an 85-inch screen. I swear I had to go watch it on the smaller TV because I literally felt like I was on a boat.
And all the rest. It is this character, Joel, and this character, Ellie, and they are navigating the zombie apocalypse. And then we get to, so that's the first couple episodes. And they're good. They're really compelling. Again, really well made, really well written. It's historic.
Get to the point.
It's important. Okay, guys, it's historic and important. Now, why is it historic and important? It's historic and important because it's about two gay dudes. That's why.
That's an oversimplification. I think when you look at the first open mixed race kiss, that was, a lot of people think it was Star Trek on TV, and that wasn't. There was actually one done before that, a long time before that when I was researching this, and it's immaterial to the conversation. But I think when you look at In the Heat of the Night, there's a movie that's extremely controversial when it comes to black and white relations. You look at To Kill a Mockingbird. You look at the first kiss between two lesbian women. These things have a tendency to be monumental and allow people to start feeling truly uncomfortable and have a conversation about it. This, let's face it, is a very big TV show. Now, if you look at Game of Thrones, it had homosexuality in it. There's been movies with homosexuality, but this is a little bit different. This is an entire show is based on this. And I think that's the point that Ben's missing, is that this really hasn't been done like this. Yes, there's been shows that are not mainstream, that don't have millions of people watching it, but this is the first one that is very mainstream. The entire PlayStation video game system success was really dependent upon this game that launched it into the freaking troposphere over Xbox, and will continue to make it so. I think he's really weighing down how important this was. And I happen to agree with the media on this, that this was an extremely important episode for somebody to watch. Now, I'll tell you why. Because I fast forwarded through the gay scene. Now, the reason why is because my kids were watching the show. You can judge that or not. I really don't care. But just like when we saw boobs in Romeo and Juliet in school, they put a piece of paper over it. Just like my parents forwarded stuff or made me cover my eyes when there was nudity. We've all been there as parents. And I don't care if it's two straight people. I'm going to cover it so my kids don't see it. So I fast forwarded the scene, but the portion that I did see, I'm not going to lie, made me uncomfortable. But that's okay. It's supposed to. That's what it's designed to do. And that's why we need to not get over it and accept it and all pretend that we can be gay and happy and lesbians and we can switch back and forth. No. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed to understand that it is a part of life. And it may not be a part of your life, but it does happen every single day. And to acknowledge it is important because it happened in the video game. And that's another thing that Ben fails to mention.
So the essential plot of this episode, which is the problem with this episode, and again, you want to make Brokeback Zombie Farm or whatever, fine. But
okay, so he just said the quiet part out loud. Ben has a problem with this because it has homosexuality in it. Full stop. It's not about zombies. It's not that there's not zombies in there. It's not that the production value isn't there, that the writing's not good. There's two gay guys in it and that bothers him. At least he's honest, right? A lot of people would be skirting the issue. He just got, after pumping it up for 5 minutes, finally getting to the point, is that he doesn't like that there's two gay guys in it. That's what he's saying. Everything else, if there was a heterosexual couple in there, he'd probably be heralding it as one of the best episodes he's seen in a long time, because honestly, the story is magnificent, especially the love story, which we'll get into in a second.
The problem with this episode is that it absolutely does not advance the plot in any way and actually has no consequences.
Actually, that's not true. And that's because Ben hasn't seen the whole show, and he will if he watches it, he'll understand why this is absolutely critical to the story, because it's not about zombies. It's about love. And I know that's hard for people to see and go, how is it possible that a sci-fi / horror flick encroaches upon love and effectively does it where so many other shows that have been that central topic have failed? That's the beauty of it, folks.
So the entire plot of the episode is that Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman, but he actually plays Ron Swanson, but Ron Swanson who likes to nail dudes. So Ron Swanson, a libertarian.
See, Ben's trying to be more edgy, and it really doesn't come across. He's so much better when he just sticks to the facts. But see, he's trying to get, a lot of people think he's milquetoast, and I don't. I think Ben, he hits the points often, hard, and well. The problem is now he's trying to be a little more edgy, and it doesn't really work on him, unfortunately.
Who hates the government and lives in his basement and is a prepper, but also is gay. Ron Swanson, during the zombie apocalypse, he's having himself a grand old time. For some reason, his town is completely not hit by any of the zombies at all. It's like completely left alone.
I'm not going to address that because that would make me a nerd. But ultimately, if you just put two and two together, the guy was a prepper. He has an electrical fence. Obviously, he did some cleanup, and he could have maybe stayed home sick that day, and everyone was at work where they have been eaten alive by now, or they're doing aptly the eating. But either way, plot holes are a part of shows. And
so he goes out and gets all of his resources, and then he builds a nice fence around his place, and he sets up all of these booby traps. So if anybody shows up, whether they're raiders, whether they're zombies, they're
he said booby,
get killed. And then somehow another dude ends up like falling into one of his traps, and they meet and they bang. And
okay, total bullshit. This is not Brokeback Zombie. I can't quit you, Ennis, and he dry humps him in a tent. I'm sorry to be graphic. Sorry, I said I was going to be good with the kids. I apologize, children. That's not what it's about. That's not what happens. And all of a sudden they have like oily gay sex and they dress in YMCA outfits. They court each other. They do what normal people would do. And ultimately they argue and they disagree. But in the end, they fall in love. I understand that this is uncomfortable. I am an alpha male. Trust me, I get it. But to say it's literally, a gay pride festival in their mouths is a little bit an oversimplification.
And they end up becoming a couple. Okay, so you can see it here, right? There's gay Ron Swanson.
It's nice to see,
and
that
it's complete with like sex scenes
are
and
not just
and
on my show.
The entire episode has no zombies, no real.
Actually, it has 2 zombies. Just to be honest with you, that's not correct. And it also has about 20 raiders who died trying to storm the property. So, yeah.
And it is about 2 gay dudes who meet.
These would be known as bears. Very hairy gay men.
And have a relationship in which one grows strawberries for the other. And then they die. But not being killed by zombies or under threat. One dies, he gets cancer, and he decides to.
They're running after each other. They're not having exercise and trying to keep their cardio up, because cardio is like rule number 8. You got to have good, or rule number 2 in Zombieland. I think maybe it's double taps 1, cardio's 2. I don't know, whatever. They got to keep their cardio up. Nope, he's chasing him to have gay sex. Yep, more gay sex is what they're chasing for. They're working out. Come on.
Essentially euthanasia himself, and gay Ron Swanson decides that he is also going to commit suicide at the same time, because Romeo and Juliet, or Romeo and Romeo in this particular case. Here's the problem. It's all really well produced and it's beautifully shot.
Here we go.
Brokeback Zombie Farm. Here's the problem with Brokeback Zombie Farm. 1, it's a zombie show. There are no zombies in this entire episode. Like, none. I understand simplistic critique, but there are no zombies in a zombie show. This is worth pointing out. It literally has nothing to do with the plot of the show.
Yes, it does.
This is a show where this show could have this entire episode could have taken place completely without a zombie apocalypse.
No, it couldn't.
It just would have been a Showtime romance between 2 middle-aged gay dudes who get older, one dies of cancer and the other assisted suicides himself. That would have been the entire, it would not have changed one iota of the show. It is completely irrelevant to the story. And one of the reasons that it is completely irrelevant to the story is because there are no stakes. And the reason that there are no stakes is because, again, we are in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. When you're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, one of 2 issues has to come into play. 1, the threat of the zombies.
Oh, look at that. They're being threatened. See the guns and the fire and all that? Wow, it looks like a zombie apocalypse to me. He looks pretty butch with that gun.
Or 2.
Rifle. Sorry. Can't believe I just did that. Marine Corps. Sorry, folks.
The threat to humanity more broadly. So if you're talking about the threat to humanity more broadly during the zombie apocalypse, what you're talking about is underpopulation, right? You're talking about there are no people. The zombies are going to take over. Humanity is going to be extinct. That is the entire threat in a zombie apocalypse. Correct?
Correct. I'm going to answer his question, even though he's not talking to me. Yes, it is. It's one of them. And I think the other one would have to be losing humanity, because I think that's more important than depopulation. Whatever's left has the human race lost its way? Has it lost its moral ability to care and to love and to protect? And if it's simply a free-for-all where rape and murder and pillaging takes over and we become animals, then what's the point of repopulating? So I think Ben's question, his premise is correct, but it also misses a very large point that this isn't a zombie movie, which is based on how to save everyone, because ultimately we know that that's probably not going to be possible. Even with the later episodes, what we find out is the only thing that truly does save humanity is love. And that's the whole premise of the show that Ben's missing, because he's never seen it.
Or in an alien invasion movie. Or in any other sort of species-level extinction event movie, like War of the Worlds or something. The question is, how do human beings repopulate? How do they survive? And how do they become successful once again? If you're going to censor an episode like that, what you need to do is you need to have an episode about people who can have babies.
No, you don't.
Again, there are only 2 issues in a zombie apocalypse. You could have this whole thing, but the whole...
This isn't this isn't something like the Umbrella Academy. These aren't the last 2 people on Earth. I would get his point, but there are plenty of these relationships, gay or not, going over all over the place. So to say that the entire human existence is hinged upon these 2 San Francisco swingers, which they're not, is ridiculous. And once again, it's just trying to justify his uncomfortability with homosexuality. And maybe this is a little bit of an immaturity that Ben has from, being a little bit privileged in life with his success, not white privilege, but privilege in the fact that he probably hasn't experienced some of these things. He probably doesn't have a lot of friends who share these stories with him, or he hasn't lived those experiences. And that's truly what it means, is that he's separated from things like this. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. I've missed things in life that I haven't experienced because my parents were more middle class. But it doesn't mean that he's all of a sudden, he has to be thrown into some sort of slot or some sort of demographic because he has not experienced anybody in his life like this. Now, I happen to have at a very early age had somebody enter our life who was homosexual, and it probably changed my disposition in life. But Ben is now going through this on the national stage, and it just seems like he fumbles through it to me. He doesn't even feel strongly about his convictions because he undercuts his comments constantly. Maybe I'm overreading it, maybe not. Let me know.
Thing is, these two dudes in love, but they're fighting off zombies. But they never fight off the zombies. It's not an issue. What happens if you have a baby? Or should having babies be the purpose here?
Well, men can have babies now. You've heard that, Ben. So the woke left have told us that. So we should be okay.
So let's take another example of a show that did this correctly. So Battlestar Galactica had an episode early on.
You never, ever get to make fun of people who play video games when you bring up Battlestar Galactica. Probably one of the best TV shows out there that nobody really watched. A lot of people did, but it wasn't as mainstream as some of the other ones. You should watch it. It's fantastic.
I think it was season 2, in which one of the questions was underpopulation, right? The fleet is depopulating. And so the question becomes, what do you do about abortion? So President Roslyn, who is a lefty, she decides that she's going to outlaw abortion because if you want humanity to survive, then it turns out that individual autonomy over your body is significantly less important than actually repopulating humanity.
So definitely a far cry from where we started out. His first, premise was that the show has nothing to do with zombies. Then it came down to that two gay people in the show ultimately was useless to talk about, and he doesn't appreciate it. And then it became a ploy for abortion. So it seems like he's just, flipping levers and buttons to check the boxes off with conservatives, when really his entire premise doesn't give him much to stand on. So I'll tell you what I think. And not everything has to be political, but many things have political implications or consequences. Politics is concerned with the distribution of power and resources within a society, as well as the decisions made by government and other actors that affect people's lives. Therefore, issues related to social justice or economic inequality or public health and the environment, among others, can all have political dimensions. Everything has something political in it if you allow it to. However, it is also important to recognize that not everything needs to be viewed through a political lens. Ben could have simply watched the show and just tried to enjoy it versus breaking it apart. But I will give him credit. That's his job and that's what he does. But in this case, there was really no there. There are many aspects of our lives, such as personal relationships, hobbies, artistic pursuits, making strawberries for another man, that are not necessarily political in nature. It is possible to appreciate and value these aspects of our lives without politicizing them. Now, the director did say he wanted to shock the hell out of people and surprise them. Well, mission success. This definitely shocked me just a little bit how in-depth they did it, because in the video game it was very subtle. It was a letter, and his lover hung himself, and they found him when they were traversing through multiple buildings to collect resources to get on the road. And he found him, and you saw a tear in his eye, and by his reaction in the letter, you could tell that they were lovers. Very subtle, but back then, you had to be. That being said, it is important to be critical and serious about the issues that do have political implications by engaging in thoughtful and informed discussions, informed being the key word for Ben. We can work towards creating a more just and equitable society, I guess, but it's also important to recognize that these issues may not seem political at first glance and can still have political consequences, such as the impact of personal actions on the environment or on social inequality or the economy or on how we go about our everyday lives. Love knows no boundaries because it's a feeling that transcends physical and societal limitations. Love is a powerful emotion that can connect two people regardless of their race, gender, ethnicity, religion, culture, or socioeconomic status. Love is a universal emotion that is felt by all human beings. We all have the capability of loving. and it's not something that can be controlled or limited by external factors. When we feel a connection with someone, it is often based on a deeper understanding and acceptance of who they are as a person rather than on superficial factors such as their appearance or social status or whether they pee standing up or sitting down. Unfortunately, that's just not the way it works. And Ben knows this. Love is also a transformative force that can challenge and break down barriers. When we love someone, we're willing to go beyond our comfort zone to understand and accept them. We are willing to learn from them, to grow with them, and to adapt to their unique perspectives and experiences. Moreover, love can be a catalyst for positive change in the world. When we love someone, we want to make their world a better place, as in this story. We've become invested in their well-being, and we strive to create a better future for ourselves and for the people we care about. And that is the entire premise of the show. In the simplest form, that is what this episode is about, and so is the game. I'm reflective on so many books, music, movies, and poetry I would have missed out on simply because a black artist was the only barrier for me to embrace and take in their works if I grew up in the 50s or the 40s. If I disagreed with someone's political disposition, imagine how much I would have missed. Within my own show. If I would have cauterized the conversation before it even started, how much of less of a person would I be? We can disagree with someone in their lifestyle. Ben has been open about anti-Semitism, homosexuality, and leftist ideology. All the while, he has been open to discuss these divisions of thought with open discussion and debate. This is something I admire and try to emulate with Ben. Here, I feel he missed the mark. Ben is an avid student and learns all he can about a subject before diving into the finer points of the conversation. Here it feels like he read his show notes and portrayed them as his own thoughts with no investment and no forethought. Either a staffer wrote his monologue or he was vastly ill-prepared this one time. I, for one, think it puts him in bad light because Ben is not a homophobe, but he certainly didn't make his case proving that he isn't in this one show. As people shouldn't judge Ben for this oversight, people shouldn't judge a show just because there are two gay men inside of it, that the director specifically chose to be shocking and make people downright uncomfortable. Isn't that the point after all? Facts are funny that way. The LGBTQ community is here to stay. We may take some exception with some of their beliefs and lifestyles, but they are human after all. We must always remember that we rarely control who we love. We can disagree based on fact and reality, and that can be monumental feats for us to get through to them. But we need to be careful not to become what we despise. We need to shed the monikers that they castigate upon us. The only way I know how to do that is to emulate a lesson I learned from Ben. Facts don't care about our feelings. It's good advice, and advice that Ben missed on this take. Don't worry, it happens to the best of us. Ben Shapiro, thank you for letting me put you in the crosshairs. I do admire his work, and I understand his points. The camera was horrible on the show. That enough would have made me turn it off if I couldn't stomach through it. Folks, do me a favor, play the game Last of Us if you haven't tried it. If you don't play video games, give the show a chance. You can always skip number 3 if it's as inconsequential as Ben says. It won't mean anything to you, but I challenge you to do one thing. Watch all the episodes but 3. And then when you turn off the story and you're wanting more, go back and give it a watch. It is a beautiful story, whether you agree with the lifestyle or not. And I think that was the point of the show. Folks, thanks for watching me tonight. I know it was a long episode, but thanks for sticking with me. My name is Matthew Spear. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me. We are here Monday, Wednesday, Friday live. My wife's on the show and a couple of friends. Stop on by tonight. We will be going live and you can come say hello to us. And I do a recorded show Monday through Friday. Thanks so much for watching. God bless. And I will go out like I always do with the Veteran Crisis Hotline. Talk to you soon.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast the SEAL team. And we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important. You are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call